Okay. So yeah, my name is Ashlie Bibaud. I am the current chair of the Boyd Acres Neighborhood Board. Thank you guys all for joining us on this meeting. We do have a couple other board members on here. We have Diane and Victoria. Hopefully we'll have a couple more as well. And thank you for to the neighbors for joining. I just wanted to go over a couple quick things before we get started. We are in the process of planning our annual in-person meeting. It's proven to be a little bit difficult to get everyone together to plan it and get everything nailed down. So we are working on it. So I do want you guys to keep an eye out for that. And we're really hoping to get details out to everybody. It will be in June for sure. And we have just a couple dates we're deciding between. We just need to make sure that everyone on the board can be there and then get speakers. And we will probably have some sort of entertainment, music, and food for sure. So it will be at Pine Nursery as well, and likely a weekday evening. So just stay posted for that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we will be looking for board members at that meeting. We have a couple people, myself included, that are going to be stepping back from the board at the end of this term. As much as I really love being a part of it and I would like to continue, I have some personal situations that cause me to need to move out of Bend up to Redmond. So unfortunately, I cannot continue being on your board if I'm not in your area. And then I know at least one other board member is stepping down, but we'll have to find out exactly how many to see how many spots we have. If you have any interest or you know of anybody that might be interested in donating a little bit of their time and volunteering for the board, we would appreciate it. You can reach out to us at the boydacres@gmail.com email or through Facebook, or you should be able to find my phone number listed on the city website as well. It doesn't take a ton of time, but you know, it does take maybe 5 hours a month or up to that, something like that generally. So not a huge commitment, but it's great to be able to keep people up to date as much as we can. So I think that's it for announcements. Unless anyone else on the board, do you have anything to share?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Victoria. Okay, well, Bronwen, if you are ready, you are welcome to start. Let me see, I'll make you a co-host.
Okay, great.
You should be all set.
Let's see. Hi, everyone. My name is Bronwen Mastro. I am a landscape architect with Bend Park and Recreation District, and I'm here to share a little information with you about two projects specifically in your neighborhood that are happening, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have as well about what's happening at the Park District. And if it's not something I can answer offhand, then I would be happy to get the information and follow back up with you. So let's see, is there any questions that you have for me before I launch into the information about the two projects? I will share my screen and show you some plans and just talk briefly about the project.
Yeah, I don't have anything up front. Hopefully after I'll probably have some questions, but if anyone else has any questions, feel free to put them in a chat or unmute yourself if you ever want to ask a question during the meeting.
Okay. Let's see, are you seeing a plan of Pine Nursery Park?
Yep.
I'm going to start with an overview that looks at the whole park. I'm happy to zoom in more detail following, but I wanted you to see kind of the whole park in its context. This project is phase 5 of Pine Nursery. As you may or may not know, but we've built this park out over the series of almost 20 years now. And so this is another phase in that build out that was planned many years ago. So this is really just kind of bringing that plan into reality. And it affects several areas of the park. I'm actually going to start in kind of the northeast zone. I'll try not to move the little hand cursor too jerkily, but this area is where our existing off-leash area is, and the pickleball courts. We will be adding 8 more pickleball courts. We will be making a few modifications to that southwest corner of the off-leash dog area that is right north of the existing sand volleyball courts. It's kind of a dusty open area. Most people will maybe access it, but don't really hang out there. They just use it to get into the rest of the off-leash area. We will be adding pedestrian access from Deschutes Market Road. So there will be an ADA compliant trail that comes along that southern border of the property and takes you into the park. You can either split off and head to the south or head up north to the off-leash area. There will also be an off-leash area gate there right at the access point, so that you, if you're coming from, say, east of the park, you won't have to go all the way around to get into that. We do have one full court basketball shown here too. That is an additive alternate right now. So we're exploring that. That means it will only be built if we have enough money in our budget. But it is something that we are considering and wanted to locate as well now, so that we could think about how it would all work together. And we will be making some minor improvements in the off-leash area. We will be providing a paved asphalt trail from the park that connects to the perimeter loop path and goes all the way to the lawn area. And then we'll be doing a few paving improvements right around that where the little fire hydrant fountain is. And then something that is not exactly shown on this plan because there's not a lot to show, but that trail that runs kind of along the outside of the park along Deschutes Market Road, as well as some of the perimeter loop trail. If you walk it, you probably know that there's some areas that have really significant root heave in the paving, and the paving's in bad shape. So we'll address the paving condition in those really bad areas as well as part of this project. And then part of this also will be adding an additional paved connection just south of the pickleball courts. It's currently like kind of a dirt road. We'll have paved access there, and then we will be doing some trail improvements and slight realignment of that perimeter trail as well, in part to address the tree root issue. When you move further south along that trail, there is an existing shed that we use for our maintenance area. We will be adding some paved access to that, and that's really for Oregon Adaptive Sports. They will be leasing that building from us for storage for their equipment, so that they have, right now they have 2 trailers that are out there that they operate their programming out of. So this will just give them some additional area to store their bikes, to fit folks up. There's paved access, but it won't be that people are actually driving up there on a regular basis. It's more to just give that access for transportation. There'll still be people park in the parking lot and then go up there for the programming if they need to get like fit up or what have you in their bikes. So they probably will still have at least 1 trailer in the park, but that's what's happening there. If you move south and a little bit west from there, you see 2 notes that say future ball field. We did explore part of the original plan for this park, part of the base plan included 2 additional softball fields. So we did explore that option. And what we found was that it was incredibly expensive to build 2 new softball fields along with all of the appropriate infrastructure, like the dugouts and the fencing, the lights, and all of that. So we started looking at other options. And what we found was that if we convert all 4 of the existing softball field infields to artificial turf, then that will allow us to have a quicker transition time for tournaments and such, so that we could actually, and same with like even for practices, it allows people, like one team to play and then get off the field and the next one to come on. It will really allow us to extend our season. We also will be putting in 90-foot baselines, which would allow us the opportunity to do baseball as well as softball. And we will be putting in athletic field lighting on these fields, which will also extend the season. And what we found when we compared building 2 new fields to renovating the 4 existing was that we actually got more hours to do that type of programming in the spring and fall, which are the seasons that the fields are most heavily used. So that actually gets us more playing hours on the field. And it fits better within our budget. The lights, they will be dark sky certified. So they will meet all the dark sky requirements. They will only be turned on when there is a game or practice or something happening. Otherwise, they'll be off, and they will shut off at 10 p.m. when the park closes. And so it's very similar to the Timbers fields, the existing Timbers fields. They have athletic field lighting too. So it'd be kind of a similar use to that. And then the final component of the work that is happening is over in our maintenance area. We'll be doing some improvements for the yard there, fencing for security. And then to make up for the storage space that we're losing for the area that's going to Oregon Adaptive Sports, we will be building a small storage building out there as well for not only that to make up that space, but then also to accommodate any supplies, equipment, etc., that is required for those artificial turf infields. And we do have one other additive alternate on this project, which is perimeter lighting around the perimeter loop trail. And then again, those would meet dark sky requirements. There's no official certification for this type of lighting, but it would be dark sky approved fixtures. And they would come on at dusk, shut off at 10 p.m., come on at 5 a.m. and shut off at dawn. So that's high level what the scope of the project is. We are currently in design. We still need to go through permitting and put the project out to bid, then build it. So some of that is a little variable just based on the permitting process and how long that takes. But I would anticipate this project to be open by summer of not open, but complete by summer of 26. Some other frequently asked questions that I've gotten in the past are whether we'd be installing any additional parking or restrooms, and we will not be doing either of that. The parking and the restroom facilities were all sized for with these amenities already in mind. I know that it can get a little wild out there on weekends, but and there's certain times where when we have like maybe a couple of tournaments going on or multiple things, that it really can be, every single parking space is taken. But there's also a lot of times out there at the park where it's practically empty. So we're working also with our events staff and our sports staff to make, just to kind of address some of those concerns around like the tournaments and the heavy use times, to see if there's a way that we can, address the parking challenge without just adding more asphalt that's normally going to sit empty. So I'll pause here in case there's any questions about this project. I'm happy to zoom in if anyone wants to see anything in more detail as well.
I definitely have a few questions, but I'll see if any other neighbors want to ask their questions first before I give you my my long list. Anybody else want to unmute yourself, or in the chat you can enter a question? Okay, I see. Oh, impressed by your knowledge and ability to address concerns. So props to you, Bronwen. All right. Any other questions or comments right now? Okay. So I have a couple questions. So first, so the dog park. So you said there was going to be some improvements in that kind of dusty area. What kind of improvements do you mean? Like, are they going to like plant more trees and plants, or like benching?
No, actually, so that dusty area is we're doing the improvement area is different location, but that's where the new pickleball courts are going. So we are removing a little bit of area. You can follow my little hand on my cursor. The current fence goes roughly like this.
Could you zoom in a little bit on it?
Sure, no problem.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know why I'm staying zoomed out. You can see this corner of the fence line where it kind of transitions from that black to gray.
Okay.
So essentially that is this zone right in here where the pickleball courts are we're going to take that part away. We had a lot of conversations internally about whether we needed to add more space somewhere else to make up for that lost square footage. But what we had observed was that people really just pass through that space. They don't actually stay there and use it. And so we thought that better use of our money would be to improve the areas, you know, that we already have. And so that's adding this paved trail so that there is that ADA access and just easier use from there. And then also looking at some improvements around that area right as you enter the lawn. It's really going to be primarily paving. We might look at whether or not we put any benches or something like that, but it's really about increasing that access
Okay.
mostly.
Awesome. Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. I go there a lot with my dog and I almost never see anyone hanging out in that
Yeah.
area. So,
It's not the best
yeah,
spot to hang out.
let me see. So we have a couple more questions in the chat. Will more water access be added to the off-leash dog park?
Do you mean like water for them to play in or water for them to drink
I
or?
think they probably mean, yeah, to drink, like maybe more water areas. I think there's just the one
We
currently.
don't have anything else planned right now, but that's certainly something I can look into. That's the first time that that's come up. So, I will look into that and see if there's an opportunity where we could provide another, access to more water. But I can't promise.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great if, yeah, maybe there was one
Yeah,
other maybe
I'll
closer to
definitely
the
look into
entrance.
that.
Joette asks, will the small dog area be impacted? What is the status of additional soccer fields?
Um, no, the small dog area won't be impacted at all, other than maybe the noise from construction, when it's happening, but otherwise we're not touching that area at all. Oh, and speaking of which, since y'all maybe are frequent users, we are doing some geotechnical investigation out in the park starting tomorrow through Friday. And so I think there's some signs up specifically in the off-leash area, but just know that you might see a drill rig out there. They do have to do one boring in this off-leash area. So um, just so you know,
Heads up.
there might be
Okay.
some impact to the park in general and the off-leash dog area one of those days. It should only take them a few hours to do the work in that area, but there could be an impact. And
Okay.
soccer fields. So I'll zoom out. The Timbers, who have built these fields, they have another phase currently in design to build 2 more fields in this kind of empty brown area next to the existing fields. I think they might be slightly ahead of us in schedule or around the same time. I know there's, you know, their schedule follows kind of the same process as ours with design and construction, but then they also have, I think, you know, some funding aspects that they're working on right now too. I don't know if they have them fully funded or not. But I think they're following a similar timeline for those 2 new fields. And then for our area, we're not adding any new soccer fields to our existing fields, but you can see this was just these overlays were showing us how many, if we wanted to fit, you know, like do a soccer tournament, how many fields would fit. Then these are full-size fields would fit with the new artificial turf infields. So just to give you an idea, we'll still maintain those multi-use fields, but we're not expanding any more of ours.
Okay, awesome. I have a quick question. I don't know if this isn't really maybe your department, but maybe you have some kind of input. I know that, you know, the off-leash dogs is a constant kind of issue that people complain about, and I've definitely experienced it myself being outside the off-leash area with your dog on a leash, and then almost every single time off-leash dogs run up to you and it drives me crazy. I know you guys have like the volunteer, like the stewards that go out sometimes. Is there like a schedule for that, or is there a way to like request more of that or anything?
Yeah, well, okay, so our stewards, they have like their normal rounds that they make. And I don't have it offhand, but you could probably Google like park steward manager. We always encourage folks, if you're having any challenges, whether it's in this park or another park, if you're seeing issues related to off-leash dogs or related to just activity that we don't want to see happening in the park, you can always call them, or you can just call our park services and they will route you to that. But they do increase their patrols and their presence in parks when we're finding that we're having issues there. You definitely nailed it. Off-leash dogs is hands down our number one issue that we have. And we don't, you may or may not know, but we don't have the ability to actually write tickets.
Yeah, I did know
And
that. Yeah, I
you
know.
can imagine, it doesn't fall very, very high on Ben PD's list of
Yeah,
things to enforce.
I know.
So our hands are tied to some degree. So we've been really trying to work with the community and spread the word as much as possible for hopefully, like neighbors, a little bit of, I don't like to say peer pressure, but peer pressure, right? With the behavior, like the more that folks are talking about it and kind of almost self-enforcing that, the better, because we just don't have the capacity to do it. And we don't have the legal authority either. But
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you for asking. And if you're interested, we just finished our kind of annual off leash, love your dog, leash your dog campaign. I'd be happy to send you some talking points in case anyone wants a few talking points that we're using to share with folks if they see it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. And we do have our annual meeting coming up. Maybe we could have someone do like a quick presentation
Yes.
there, because it's generally a much bigger audience than we get at our virtual meetings. And yeah, I do. It's like there's this huge off leash area. Why do they need to be off leash in the parking lot? I have no idea, but
Yeah, definitely reach out. We'd be happy to, when you have your date set and time, let us know, because we could definitely send someone to provide that info and just be there at that meeting.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. Okay, Joette asked, last winter the lights were off in the south parking lot. Was that for intentional to discourage use, or was it like a mechanical issue?
It was probably just, mechanical issue or something like that. I'm not aware of any reason why we'd be turning them off specifically to discourage use. So that was probably a fluke. But if you see that again, let us know so that we can look into that.
Get them going on. Okay. Oh, and I did, just to throw out while we're going over all this, Bend Pickleball Club, which I'm part of, they did send out an email about them lighting up the pickleball courts, which if you have not heard, that's very exciting news. So that will be happening too. Let me see, other questions. What did I write down? So the area that you were saying, so over the future, near the softball fields, the future baseball use. So are you guys just going to leave that as is for right now, since it didn't really make financial sense? I honestly kind of like that area just to walk around, but
yeah, we're just leaving it untouched since we had the preliminary design. We're showing it here as a potential future use, but no plans to build that out anytime in the foreseeable future.
okay. Okay. I was gonna ask timelines, but you did touch on that. Is there anywhere that you know of publicly that you can see the schedule for the softball fields and kind of try to go maybe when it's not packed full of cars and games? Or is that going to be individual, like?
That's a good question. Let me double check with our sports folks. I know they're trying to improve their notifications, and we've tried to improve just the information that we're putting on our websites, like links to the pickleball clubs or club and stuff, and same with the Timbers, but I don't know if we have anything about the sports practices. So let me find out if there is any one spot to look for that info.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's everything I had written down. We have the last question is, that fall event that you guys had was very successful. Is there another one planned for this fall? I went to that. It was a great event that you guys did.
I don't know. We try to rotate we do those events usually quarterly, and we try to rotate them around, but I'm not certain if they've selected the location for their next fall event or if they have another one planned at Pine Nursery anytime soon.
All right. I think that's it. I mean, I love all the improvements, especially the access on the east side of the dog park. That will be great to be able to come in from that side, not have to go all the way around, for sure.
Yeah, I think that might be the most popular feature so far in the feedback I've heard.
I bet, especially with all those apartments over there, it's like probably very annoying for them. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if you have the other project that you want to go over, go ahead.
Great. Okay. And you all may or may not, this project has been in the works for a long time, so some of you may have seen me present this or heard me talk about it in the past. But if not, Sawyer Park is, so if you visit Sawyer Park, and I know it's kind of on the edge of your neighborhood, you know, maybe not quite as prominent as Pine Nursery, but the parking is just, the parking lot is in terrible shape. It's you know, and same with the entry drive. So this really started out as a maintenance project that we were doing to make some improvements to the parking lot and entry drive. When we started doing outreach on it a couple of years ago, we also explored the option of moving the parking area from down kind of in the middle of the park to O.B. Riley Road. There were two main drivers for that. One is just the natural character of the park. You know, it's got a very just natural wild feel. And so, and then it's disrupted by vehicles going down into it. So by moving it closer to O.B. Riley Road, it gives us an opportunity to remove vehicles from closer to the river and have a more continuous natural area and experience. We also, you know, you can't really see what's happening down there, and we've had some behavioral issues with bad things happening. And so by moving it closer to the street, it gives better visibility into the parking area as well. And so when we did outreach, we looked at both options with the public in terms of like where to locate the parking and how it should be configured. And overwhelmingly, people were in favor of moving it closer to the road. So that is what the direction that we went. This is also what we found is this is an active archaeological site. And so as we got deeper into the design, the previous design had a bigger footprint. We were increasing there's 31 current parking stalls there. The initial design had, I want to say 57. And what we found was that given some of the cultural resources that are on site and the impact to them, we needed to tighten up our footprint and shift the parking area a little bit so that we could protect those resources in the ground. And that's how we arrived at the plan that you're seeing now, which is, I believe, 49 stalls. And it's located in the northeast corner of the park. It's pretty compact, and part of that is for those reasons that I was just sharing. Another outcome of that public outreach that we did was a lot of people said that their experience in the park would be greatly improved if we had permanent restrooms. So we are adding two permanent restrooms, 2 stalls as well up in that upper level. And then they also said improvements to accessibility, which there's virtually, I don't know if there's anything in this park right now that's ADA compliant or meets ADA. We do acknowledge that by moving the parking closer to the road, that does mean it's a longer trip into the park. So if you have mobility challenges or you're schlepping a bunch of stuff with you, you are going to have to walk further with that stuff. But we tried to provide a number of, it seemed in general the benefits seem to outweigh that one drawback though, of relocating the parking. So we're trying to provide a variety of methods to get into the park as well. We're maintaining that the existing entry drive alignment, and it'll be a multi-use trail. This falls on the city's low stress network in their transportation systems plan, and so we're maintaining that access. A lot of people do bike through here for commuting and walk through here, so we're maintaining that as kind of like the quicker kind of way on paving to get down. This turnaround is for maintenance, and it looks much starker on the screen than it will feel in real life, I hope. You can't see all of kind of the native environment around it, but that is for maintenance access. We will provide a direct kind of walk down with some stairs. And then we're also adding a shelter up on top with a couple of picnic tables for folks, you know, if they want to picnic up a little bit higher and kind of look out over the park into the river. And then we're also providing this one with the dashed yellow line is our accessible trail into the park. So when you're up here kind of on the plateau, you know, you've got more of juniper trees, and then you come down into the grass area with those existing, you know, kind of large trees in the lawn area. So we are providing some picnic table and bench opportunities along that path as well, so that, you know, hopefully to make it a little bit more of an experience if people are just wanting to come in and take a walk in the park as well. And then down this number 11 where the current porta potties are in the park, just to orient you a little bit. We'll renovate that into an overlook area with some seating options and table options. And then we will, where the existing parking area is, we'll also be restoring some of the habitat there. I know it looks like lawn, it's not lawn, it will be native plantings, and trails and picnic tables. This design has evolved slightly, but it's generally the same idea. We won't be doing anything to the bridge, because that's just outside of the scope. And then the last thing is the city already last summer put in this crosswalk further south, connects that existing trail. And so when they were doing the road work on O.B. Riley Road, they installed a crosswalk. We will be putting in a street light as well, just to improve safety as part of this project. And this project, so a couple of other things to note that, as I mentioned, this started out as just a maintenance project. And so obviously to add these extra amenities costs more money. So we went out and got some grant funding for that. And so we have a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which is a federal grant. And then we also have a local government grant program grant, which is state level. But the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant comes with a lot of extra kind of process and requirements. So this project is moving at a slower pace than maybe one of our normal park improvement projects would have. So we're slowly chipping away at it. That's why, you know, I started this project 2 or 3 years ago, and we're still, you know, I'm still showing you a concept design, although we have advanced the design documents some as well. So that one, I think that one should hopefully be built also in 2026 with the way that we're tracking currently. And this one, I will let you know, because of the way that just the access and the staging works out, we are going to have to close off parking to the park at some point, probably for a couple of months at least, when the contractor gets started. When that happens, we will be notifying neighborhood associations. We'll be, you know, putting the info out on social media. So we will definitely be spreading that well ahead of time, but I figure I might as well give you you know, a heads up now that when the time comes for us to do that construction, we will have to close off parking for some, you know, point in time while we get the new parking lot built. Sorry, I guess I should say, so that's all I have to share at the moment. If there's other questions about this project.
Yeah. First, I'm really glad that you brought up the bathroom thing, because that did come up at a recent meeting that we had, and that our only park in our neighborhood boundaries in Boyd Acres that has permanent facilities is Pine Nursery. None of the other parks do. So yeah, that was something I did want to ask you about. So I'm glad there's plans for this one. Hopefully maybe in the future we can get some more. James wants to know, are 1 or 2 ADA parking spaces a possibility in the new area? Will there be
Yes.
ADA parking?
We've got 3 actually.
3, perfect.
So it's you see that number 8, these 3 right there.
Okay.
Will be the ADA stalls.
Awesome. Okay, if anyone else has questions, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. I'll be honest, I have less questions about this just because I don't frequent this park very often. So I'm not as familiar as I am with maybe some of the other ones. And also the updates they're big, but they're not as big as maybe Pine Nursery type giant updates.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about the bathrooms. Could you share with us the cost of plumbing and the restroom construction, please?
Oh, sure. let's see, actually, I don't have cost right in front of me. But I want to say that we're probably looking at around $600,000 to $800,000 for the restrooms. We did, and I forgot to mention, so the grants that we got, we received over $2 million in grant money to put toward the funding of that and some of the other work. But I think based on our most recent cost estimate, yeah, in the 600,000 to 800,000 neighborhood.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's wild how
It's shocking.
such a small a small thing can cost so much.
Yeah. And that's probably why, you don't put in permanent restrooms in every single park because of that expense. I heard that the one at Rockbridge was like in the millions, and I'm just going,
Oh yeah, that
you
one
gotta be
surprised me.
kidding me. I could
It's for a
live in a
bathroom.
mansion for.
I know.
Yeah, that is insane. I never would have guessed that it would be
Yeah,
anything
so I
near
thought
that. So I'm glad you asked that question.
I thought it'd be interesting for all of us to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah. Joette
you.
had a positive comment for you. I love this park and am pleased to have the parking in a more visible location. This looks like a great design.
Thank you. Oh, and we will be doing lighting in the parking lot, solar lighting. Same type of thing where it's programmed to come on and off at the appropriate hours. So it won't be, all night or anything like that. But just for the security of when the park is open, we will have some lighting there.
Okay, any other questions, anyone? Feel free. Okay, I don't see any right now. If anyone does have questions that maybe thinks of them later, or if you're watching, I am recording this, so if you're watching this at a later time and you have questions, please feel free to send them to me and I'll forward them over to Bronwen and we'll try to get some answers for you guys. But yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we are probably set to conclude our meeting unless anyone else has any issues or things they want to bring up or discuss, feel free.
Well, thank you for having me, and I will follow up with you, and I will leave you to your meeting in case there's anything else you have to discuss.
Okay, thanks so
Thank you,
much,
everyone.
Bronwen.
Thank you. It was good.
Yeah, that was great. Very informative. I'm excited for these improvements.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
There's that program that fills in sidewalks where there are gaps. Do you know if there's any plan to fill in the sidewalk on 18th Street between Brightwater and Empire?
I'm trying to think if that was one. I don't know for sure. I'd have to check in with them and see if that's one that's in the plans. I know that on Boyd Acres there is a plan to put a sidewalk in. But yeah, I'm not sure about on 18th, so I'd have to double check with that.
Thanks.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And yeah, stay tuned for our annual meeting happening next month. I'm going to try to get those details out to you ASAP. We're really hoping by the end of this week since we are pushing the timeline right now. But yeah, thank you all for coming and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Good meeting.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
No, it was a 5:30.